and welcome to Bay Area Innovators. I am your host, Steve Ispas. Today we are joined by Darren Stallcup, who spent his whole life in San Francisco and has a deep desire to make the city to what it was like years ago. He is also the founder of the World Peace Movement, an organization dedicated to make the world a better place. Darren, welcome to our program.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you having me here and the opportunity to share my story with the world.
Absolutely. Please tell us a bit about the state of the homelessness in San Francisco. You grew up in the city, and I'm sure you have a lot to say.
Yeah, so right now there are a lot of people on the streets, thousands of people of all colors, creeds, and religions. A lot of them are struggling with mental health, drug addiction, housing. Hundreds of millions of dollars upon billions of dollars have been spent to solve the situation, only for it to get worse. And, a few things that stick out in my mind from memory. There was a woman who gave birth on the sidewalk outside of the Nancy Pelosi building. It was a crack-induced labor, and the first thing that child touched in this world was the sidewalk. Another thing that sticks out in my memory is they found a stillborn child inside of a porta potty near City Hall. You have a few incidences of people jumping off buildings, tents catching on fire, which sets entire buildings on fire. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of chaos happening on the streets, and it's absolutely horrible. I would describe the situation as a fentanyl genocide, and I would say from a family point of view, the community is becoming more and more uninhabitable by the day. We have normalized chaos and death, and walking around downtown San Francisco, there's bodies everywhere, tents, government-issued crack pipes, government-issued needles, and feces everywhere. And the smell of urine is palpable. You can taste it. It's horrible. And the conditions, like I said, are getting worse. And
what do residents think about the situation, and how does this compare to 10 to 15 years ago?
So I've seen San Francisco go from being the cultural capital of the world to the technological capital of the world to what seems now the fentanyl capital of the world. And there are a lot of different opinions and perspectives in San Francisco, and I know I don't speak for everybody in the city. There's a lot of organizations and nonprofits related to the homelessness and the fentanyl crisis. They're taking in hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I'm not seeing any change. I'm not seeing a positive impact at all whatsoever. And so I feel it's important for me to share my story with the world, because at the end of the day, I just want to go back to that San Francisco I know and love, that I grew up in, the city, one of the most beautiful cities in the world, the Paris of the West.
For our audience, what would you say is the main reason the homeless population is increasing in San Francisco?
I believe it's partly due to all the enabling and also because of the accessibility of it all.
Like drugs.
Fentanyl is cheaper than a loaf of bread, a gallon of milk, a gallon of gasoline. The government's paying these guys on the streets $800 a month to camp and get high all day. And it seems like that one island from Pinocchio where anything goes, and I'm over here screaming ollie ollie oxen free, and I feel like nobody hears me, and every day it's just getting worse and worse. And so I've actually been walking around documenting the fentanyl genocide and building relationships with these people on the streets and just trying to see if I can do anything for them, point them towards the Salvation Army or something like that. There is a way out. There is hope. But I would say fentanyl is the opposite of hope.
Let's talk more about fentanyl, because that's something that probably is one of the biggest reasons for the problems that happen in the city. Tell us more what you know about it. How is it coming here? Why do people, get so easy access to it, and who's enabling it?
So long story short, back in the day, there was a lot of partying happening in San Francisco, alcohol, cannabis, cocaine, and that was pretty normal. You had mushrooms, you had acid. That stuff was fairly normal, just your typical party favors. And recently, we have seen fentanyl come into San Francisco the last few years. I think it really started hitting heavy 2019, and from then the overdose rates have been skyrocketing. And long story short, fentanyl, it's a cycle of chaos and death. The BIP economy, it's people just, stealing, ransacking, bipping, doing anything to obtain anything worth anything, to sell that, to then go ahead and buy fentanyl. And when you have a fentanyl bazaar on 7th and Market Street, when you have like these open air black markets where people can sell their stolen property and buy fentanyl right there next to the black
But that
market.
actually happens. There is a place where you can sell the stuff you sold and buy fentanyl right there.
The black market on 7th and Mission Street, it's really a fentanyl bazaar. I mean, it's been streamlined to, guys, girls come in, they sell their stolen property, whatever they bipped or ransacked, and right next door they're able to buy fentanyl. It's like the guy buying the stolen property stand next to the guy selling fentanyl. It's like a horrible cycle, and it's the BIP economy is fentanyl seems to be the mainstay of the San Francisco economy. While all the other businesses are closing down, there's a lot of Walgreens, Safeways, Targets, grocery stores, mom and pop shops. They're being targeted, they're being bipped, they're being ransacked. These people are then taking the bus or the train to the fentanyl bazaar on 7th and Market, and they are selling whatever they got their hands on for fentanyl. It's a seamless process, and it's pretty sad when you consider the fact that so many mom and pop shops have closed down their doors, and the local San Francisco government wants to kind of sweep it under the rug as if it was because of COVID that those shops closed down. It's not because of COVID. It's because customers literally cannot go in and shop if there's somebody passed out on the ground in front of the doorway entrance of the establishment. You have a lot of businesses leaving the city as well. As San Francisco's economic collapse worsens, I believe, at some point we'll reach terminal velocity. And if you look at San Francisco and you walk around downtown, you see for lease signs everywhere. One of my colleagues, Tom Hawk, he's a photographer. He walked around downtown, and within an hour, he was able to capture 100 different for lease signs in downtown San Francisco. So we're seeing like a mass exodus of businesses, small businesses. We're seeing a mass exodus of families. And on top of that, we have a mass migration of fentanyl addicts. They're coming to San Francisco from Los Angeles, Seattle, Portland, New York City, for the cheapest fentanyl in the United States of America.
How much can they get it for?
They can get it for $4 a gram, but as low as, $2 or $3. Sometimes these guys will even give out fentanyl for free just to get somebody hooked. A gram of fentanyl, it's enough to kill a couple of people. I would say, I'm not a doctor, but I would say fentanyl is extremely lethal in microscopic amounts. And the situation on the streets of San Francisco is really disturbing, because you have a bunch of people who, from a tourist point of view, seem and appear, walk, talk, and quack like a zombie. And they're hunched over, they're leaning over. No one knows how they're able to maintain their balance. Every morning, I go on a morning walk. I work in downtown San Francisco. I see people hovered over the sewer vents, the exhaust for warmth. I see these white vans coming around and collecting bodies. I have no idea where those bodies are going. And a lot of these people are lost, ran away from home, they're missing.
Give us more example about the homeless situation. We've heard examples of kids being around the tents where homeless live. Have you encountered anything like that? Do you know anything about it?
So I'm starting to see, just families on the streets of San Francisco. And it doesn't stop there. Fentanyl is starting to show up on playgrounds and in schools. It's absolutely horrible. Last December, there was a 2-year-old child playing on the playground in San Francisco with their mom and dad, and something shiny, and next thing you know, the child overdosed on fentanyl. Our Democrat leaders in San Francisco focus on sexual identity of children or what gender they are and things like that. They tweet about that every day. And not once have they tweeted about how fentanyl is showing up in playgrounds or in schools. The other day, I was walking on Jones Street and I saw a couple of people smoking fentanyl next to the playground where children are playing. And I respectfully said, hey, can you please not smoke fentanyl here? There's children playing at the playground. Literally smoke the fentanyl anywhere else besides here, please. And long story short, I got called every name in the book, and they said, up yours, buddy. I'll smoke wherever I want to smoke. And you got police who are unable to do anything. They are extremely limited in terms of what they can do. There's people dying from addiction. It feels like ancient Rome.
Who are the drug dealers? Who's dealing drugs in San Francisco?
So, everybody has their own poison. As far as the fentanyl dealers go, long story short, it's mostly Hondurans selling fentanyl. Mm-hmm. And it's absolutely horrible because if you go to Sarria Valley in Honduras, they have mansions built from the profits that were made from fentanyl being sold in San Francisco. So then it goes back to Honduras. If you go to Sarria Valley in Honduras, you will see fentanyl mansions. And on these iron gates, it's crazy because everywhere else in this country is like third world. But this place, they have mansions from the fentanyl trade. And on the iron gates of these mansions, they will have San Francisco 49er emblems or San Francisco basketball warrior emblems. And it's really ironic, too, because actually, fun fact, the first president of Honduras, his name was Francisco. So it makes me scratch my head. It keeps me up at night, honestly. I don't know how else to say it, but we need to shut down the southern border. Mm-hmm. I truly believe immigrants are some of the best people in our country. They work hard, they're Christians, they love their families, they're good people. And these fentanyl dealers are giving them a bad name. Mm-hmm. And I hate to say it, we need to shut down the southern border, and we need to slow down the program, and we need to stop fentanyl from coming into the United States of America. But the reason why fentanyl is the cheapest in San Francisco and not in Los Angeles, where it's closer to the border, is because people forget that the Port of Oakland also has a major role to play in a lot of things, not just fentanyl. It's a deep iceberg. The San Francisco iceberg is deep, and unfortunately, we're not alone. Oakland is dealing with a lot of similar situations. And the fentanyl crisis in general, it's chemical warfare on the American people. When you zoom out and you look at all of the United States of America as a whole, you see a lot of the coastal cities, Seattle, Los Angeles, New Orleans, Miami, Boston, New York, all of these places, they are struggling with fentanyl. And inland too, Philadelphia, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Albuquerque, New Mexico, Las Vegas, Nevada. Fentanyl they're putting it in everything. They're starting to put fentanyl in weed. They're starting to put fentanyl in cocaine. They're putting fentanyl in those vaporizers. All the kids are vaping tobacco now in these vaporizers. A lot of them aren't even old enough to buy the vaporizers. So they're buying these vaporizers illegally off the streets. And a lot of these guys are actually putting fentanyl inside of the vaporizers to get them hooked, so they can get more customers. And these guys, they don't care if people are dying from what they are selling, which is fentanyl. They don't care. They see it as you or me, kind of. And I don't know what their mindset or mentality is, but I know in Honduras, if you work all day maybe all week you're lucky if you get $10, and on the corner of 7th and Market you can get hundreds, thousands of dollars simply just by standing there all day. So it's a greed, it's a gluttony problem. There's a lot of sin happening in San Francisco.
In San Francisco, there's a lot of effort and money being put into housing the homeless. Do you think how much of a solution this is, and why do we still have a lot of homeless given all this money being put into it?
There have been a lot of changes and shifts of focus happening with these organizations and nonprofits who are primarily focused on housing. Used to be in 2015, during the height of the technology era of San Francisco, unless we're able to stop the fentanyl genocide and focus on artificial intelligence. Back in 2015, used to be if you were homeless, you go check in at Brother Francis or St. Anthony's or Glide or a number of other different places, and you would have a bed that night. And seems like, and that was back then when there wasn't a lot of funding. Nowadays, there's millions of dollars in funding, and these people need a bed. All of a sudden, they have to wait a few days to get on that list, and then they have to wait a few days when they're on that list. And it's an extremely slow process. And, we are human beings. At the end of the day, we need shelter, food, clothing. We need also, love. We need something to keep us going, some hope in our hearts, that spark. Mm-hmm. And a lot of these people on the streets, they have lost that spark to the darkness of fentanyl. And when it comes to housing, actually, I've seen St. Anthony's recently opened up a homeless shelter, and I also seen Salvation Army open up a homeless shelter. I think those are very good projects, and those are huge step forwards for our community, and one giant leap for the United States of America, because everybody and their moms is coming to San Francisco to do fentanyl. And I think it also is the cost of living is extremely high in San Francisco, just as high as New York City. Average cost of an apartment is $3,000. I'm currently paying an arm and a leg for a small studio, and a lot of these people, they can't afford to have shelter. So they had SROs established, which are single residency occupants rooms. The SROs are not your average apartment building. They are extremely chaotic. They are like anything goes. So in the SROs, you have a communal bathroom where 20, 30, 40 people who just came off the streets, who are all suffering to some degree with mental health or drug addiction, they're sharing the same toilet. Unfortunately, a lot of these people, they get their SRO and they're like, oh, finally, I have a place to do fentanyl. And unfortunately, these SROs have become very haunted, to say the least.
Recently, there was a convention in the city that seemed to clean downtown area. How did that happen?
So, yes, there was the Salesforce Technology Conference in downtown San Francisco, where technology experts of all colors, creeds, and religions from all around the world came to San Francisco to pioneer a path forward and truly trailblaze into the future in regards to technology. And the police, San Francisco Police Department, as well as a few other organizations, came and just swept the streets clean, the sidewalks. You could finally walk down the sidewalk. There wasn't a tent in sight. And for a few days, it felt like 2015 again. And so these people who are traveling to San Francisco, who have heard horrible things about the city, they're expecting a fentanyl apocalypse, and they come to downtown San Francisco, and everything's swept under the rug. Everything seems really fine. Everything is normal. And it's like children of the corn. I can't explain it. Everything is normal when you get into town. Everybody's quiet. It's like one of those movies where there's something's going on. The conference was mostly successful. And a lot of money did come into the city. On the other hand, you have a weird situation where for years we were begging local San Francisco leaders to do something about the homelessness, about the fentanyl crisis. They haven't done anything. And then the Salesforce conference comes and they suddenly do everything we've been begging them to do for a few days, and then everything back to the regular scheduled programming. It's a corrupt cycle of nonprofits, organizations, and local leaders coming together to perpetuate a cycle of suffering through fentanyl, because there's more money in perpetuating the chaos and death than there is in solving it, which is truly what I believe is why we have not seen any progress, although they keep throwing money at the problem.
I think this is a good segue to focus on our next topic, which is our audience, I think, wants to see hope, they want to see solutions, and they want to see improvement in San Francisco. And can you please talk about your organization that you founded, the World Peace Movement, and how would you bring better San Francisco for the future?
The World Peace Movement is essentially people of all colors, creeds, and religions coming together to save the world, to save the USA, to save California, to save San Francisco. One of the things our World Peace Movement is doing is we started a grassroots petition to declare a state of emergency for the fentanyl humanitarian crisis happening in San Francisco. And right now we are in the process of collecting signatures for our digital petition. And so far, I'm proud to say we have collected thousands of signatures, and once we reach our goal of 10,000 signatures, I'm going to get a hard copy of our petition, and I'm going to not only submit it to Mayor London Breed, but also Gavin Newsom and President Biden.
What do you think will make a difference? What will it take for San Francisco to turn around?
I think it's up to each and every one of us to come together and just set aside our differences, our different perspectives and opinions, and just really, as a community, help the less fortunate, hold these corrupt local leaders accountable, and dismantle these corrupt nonprofits and organizations who have perpetuated this cycle of chaos, all for profits.
San Francisco has a budget of around $14 billion. San Jose, which is similar in size, is about $3 billion. Any comments on that difference?
Well, it went from being a regular budget, like cities like San Jose and Sacramento. I think when when San Francisco became the technology capital, I think, billions of dollars started pouring into the city. I think it's really strange. We have all the money in the world, but we can't help the poor. Something's got to give. Something's got to happen. I don't know if we've reached the point of no return. I don't know if we have to surrender the sails to the storm. But something's got to happen, because what's currently happening, it's not working, at least for the people.
Anything else you'd like to add?
I just want the world to know that fentanyl is not family friendly, and what's happening in San Francisco is an absolute humanitarian crisis. It's a fentanyl genocide. And I think the biggest takeaway for the audience watching this interview at home is simple. Fentanyl is not good.
Darren, it was awesome talking to you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for being here.